All right, everyone. Interesting link in the description, archived, of course. We've got to do a little bit of analysis here. Will the Trump administration survive the left-wing lawfare that's being levied at the administration? My tacit answer is probably yes, more or less. What the Trump administration is doing right now is running an interference campaign with an entirely private group, Doge, of course. And that's basically the distraction. It's the pretty tinsel dancing around that's distracting all of the toddlers while the real job is being done. You have to do this. I think he learned from experience more than anything else. First administration of Donald Trump, what did he do? He tried to appease the Uniparty. It was not a great idea because all of those advisors and people that he put in the cabinet that were Unipartyists immediately attempted to cajole him. And he was, of course, not willing to be cajoled, to be, told what he should or should not do. It's not in his nature. And so he shuffled them off on their way, placing them with other unipartyists that did the same thing. And so it bogged down his first administration. And it was, while successful, generally speaking, under the circumstances, probably couldn't have been better, was not 100%. We will be talking about Trump and Iran later. That's on the live docket. Um, I have my misgivings about this particular post that he made, for example. But generally, he's doing better than he did in his first administration. I think that the administration will generally survive the lawfare because there are so many lawsuits at the same time. So you can pick and choose your battles. What you do is you're the chief executive. You've got billions of dollars. Your bestie is a multi-billionaire. So you don't have any problem with legal issues because you can wage them endlessly effectively. You've got the machinations of all the bureaus behind you, even while you're axing them at the moment. And so you have quite a bit of power and an extreme amount of money. What do you do? Well, you trigger 5,000 lawsuits at the same time, and your enemies have to prioritize. They're not going to be able to wage them all. They don't have enough courts that have any jurisdiction over those decision-making things that you've done in order to actually wage all the cases at the same time. They have to drop some of them. That gives Trump victories. Now, some of them will be minor victories, some of them will be major victories. It doesn't really matter now, does it? Trump is throwing everything at the wall at the same time in association with people who understand sort of what's going on, and the system is just completely broken at this point. It's like, imagine, I've used this metaphor. You've got an enemy, and you fire an arrow at them. You might very well miss. You might not hit them at all. But if you have 1,000 archers behind you and they just bombard the target, eventually one of them is going to hit a vital organ or something like that. That's Trump's strategy. Throw everything at the wall. It's like feeding shit through a fan or something like that. Eventually, a piece of that shit's going to stick to the wall on the other side. That's what he's doing. He's hoping to gain victories through distraction more than anything else. Now, normally, because I'm not a liberal, of course, certainly not a Democrat, you're not supposed to interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake, now are you? Good advice. But they're incapable of actually capitalizing upon this concept. They're incapable of actually deflecting Trump at all because their legacy media buddies rely on clickbait, ad revenue, and things like that. There's a reason that I don't take ad revenue on YouTube, for example. They rely upon it. They need it. Otherwise, they won't survive at all. And so in their reporting, you get stuff like this. Like, oh my God, the Trump administration is being knocked down to the ground by all of the legal suits against it. But you're not understanding. You're not even hearing about half of those legal suits. Some of them fly under the radar. In those cases, Donald Trump can win a victory. Will he win every battle? No. Will he win the war? That's the only question you need to ask. In my opinion, in the end, he likely wins the war. In the end, I think that more than half of all of the proposals that he has made will actually go through in the end. And the reason for that is quite clear, because the opposition to it is so badly discoordinated. You do have a lawfare response, which is what we're technically talking about now, and that's a little bit more organized. That's a little bit better. But there's no legislative response other than Chuck Schumer, downing his second gin and tonic of the day and then pouting for a while, making a shitpost on Twitter. Nancy Pelosi kneeling down, unable to get up on her own and having to be helped up. That's basically the legislative response. And there's no executive response because Trump happens to be the president of the United States. Some liberals, by the way, have not even come around to this yet. They still consider, I guess, I don't know, Joe Biden or somebody like that to be the lawful president of the United States, which is hysterical given the popular vote results as well as the electoral vote results, but they still believe it. Somehow they're still in complete delusion. Believe Kamala Harris is the president of the United States. Trump cheated. He printed out millions of ballots with the help of the Kremlin. That makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm looking at this story and chuckling to myself. The Trump administration is likely to generally prevail in these cases. Now, again, not in all cases. He will be defeated by the courts, which have been weaponized against him in multiple cases. Could be in the number of hundreds. But generally speaking, when you've got thousands of cases going on, losing a couple hundred is not necessarily the most deleterious thing that you can experience. I think it'll be one of those 70-30 sort of situations where Trump overrides them either through the Supreme Court, through executive action, through workarounds, through legislative action, etc. He loses a few battles, but ultimately, I believe, wins the war. About all. Peace out.